Hi, my name is Michael Smith. I am here to get baptized tonight, and I am honored and privileged to share a little bit of my story with you here. Growing up, my father wasn't a very godly man. I got all my spirituality from my mother. William Thatcher once said that, mother is the word for God on the lips and hearts of all children, and that was very much so in my case. My father was a man's man. He was Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, and John Wayne all rolled into one. He could build a house up, from the ground up by himself. He would go hunt and catch breakfast and bring it back. I was more like my mother, which I'm sure irritated him a lot. I was artistic and sensitive, and I'm sure he was very excited to have a son. I just wasn't, the son that he actually wanted. So growing up, there was a lot of hardships. He had a temper. The only real godly thing I got from him is he could put the fear of God in you. On the opposite side, though, my mom is a very spiritual person. She was the one that took us to church, always leading by example. I can remember, growing up, I thought I was poor. The first toys I remember having is these cardboard cutouts that my mom drew and colored for me and then cut them out, and they were a Batman and Robin. The fact that she took the time to do that and involve me in every part of that process, just goes to show the type of woman that she is. And then when I was 17, my father passed away. It's a very big event in my life. I still think back on it because I never got the chance to sit down and talk to him as an adult, to have any closure, any of that. It was very tough. So when I was 18, here I thought I'd grown up poor, but that was because my dad didn't spend any money. All of a sudden I was 18 and I had a house. I had quite a bit of money, and I was dealing with a lot of grief. And it's a recipe for disaster most of the time. I became involved with alcohol and drugs, and just was in a really bad spot, always putting on a mask of the happy-go-lucky Michael Smith, but on the inside I was very much broken. And then a beautiful thing happened. When I was 19, I found out that I was going to have a son, and that changed my world entirely. I stopped drinking, stopped doing everything, stopped just pretty much everything. Started living healthier. He was our miracle baby. His mother was not supposed to be able to have children, and after him, she was not able to have any more. So I tried to live a godly life and lead by example, and that was one of the highlights. And it didn't work out between his mother and I. That was a very hard thing. Gone was the family life that I wanted so badly. And then eventually she moved to another state, and it became increasingly harder and harder to see him and have a relationship with him. And that was very tough on me as well. And eventually I started slipping back into old habits, not dealing with my emotions and just trying to forget everything. And when I was 25, I met a woman. His name was Sarah Bracey. She was like an angel on earth. She was the first person that made me want to be a better person. She had a heart condition. She was born with a defective heart valve, so they had to put a mechanical one in there. And she didn't drink, she didn't smoke, she didn't do anything. She took care of herself. One of my favorite memories is I used to lay my head on her chest, and instead of a heartbeat, you could just hear a tick. like a clock. And I loved her with all my heart. And she had a smile that could light up a room. On March 31st, 2006, her clock ran out. We were at her best friend's birthday party. We were at a bar in Lebanon. They were playing a hip-hop song, a fast song, and we were slow dancing. And with all the chaos around us, I looked at her and I told her, "It's you, it's always you, and I love you." And then she was gone. And she was 19 years old. It felt like a light went out of me. I was mad. I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral because her parents thought that I was somehow a bad influence on her. And I can understand when something like this happens, you try to find somebody to blame. And I became that person. So I never got any closure. My heart was broken. And that sent me into a deep downward spiral of drugs, alcohol, anything I could do to numb the pain, numb what I felt inside. It was bad times. I actually became an atheist. I didn't want to blame God. I wanted to take it a step further and refuse to acknowledge his existence. I knew there was a huge hole in my heart and my soul. I moved to Minnesota. I was there for 5 years. Was in a relationship with a wonderful lady who was the first person that taught me that I could be me sober. Without her, I don't know if I would have made it. Eventually, we came back to Tennessee, and I found myself here in Crossville. And that's when things really started to change. I started working for the Fortes, at Fortes on the Square. Still at this time, I wasn't really acknowledging God. And when I went in there, I'd been in the restaurant industry for 15 years. When I came here, I looked around and I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't do corporate. And I was going to the library one day and I just saw the sign and decided to go in. And I talked to Kenny and Kim, and everything just clicked, and my heart felt something that it hadn't felt in a very long time. And I told him, sometimes God puts you where you're supposed to be. That was the first time I'd ever even spoken his name in over a decade. Through them, I started coming here to Cumberland Fellowship. Hearing Sam speak the word did something to me. It sparked something inside me that I hadn't felt in a long time. And I knew that God was there. He was with me. He was always with me. I got to get perspective, on the whole situation with Sarah, because looking back, the last thing that she ever heard on this earth was "I love you." Gave me the closure that I needed. And started to come in here every Sunday. And a year ago, I was still going through a rough time, and they called people up to the altar, and I went up there, and I asked God, let me feel your presence. I want my life to have meaning. I want my life to have purpose. I want to be free of restrictions, and I want to serve you. And I was saved on that day. There's no feeling like having God in your heart and knowing that he's there with you every step of the way, and knowing that you don't have to be alone. Getting baptized, which is the next step to show everybody that I am unafraid and that I'm unashamed of who I was then and who I am now. And it is definitely very symbolic, because I'm deathly afraid of water. and especially having my head underneath water. So to do this tonight is me letting go of my fear and letting God have control.